Good evening. I'm Jessica Moore.
I'm Dick Brennan. Christina's off tonight. The mourning period in the Vatican has begun. Let's take a live look right now where it's just past 5 a.m. in St. Peter's Square. The search begins for a new pope.
The Vatican confirmed earlier today Pope Francis died from a stroke, which led to a coma and heart failure.
Tonight, the Empire State Building is lit in gold and white in the Pope's honor, and now the Catholic Church mourns a legendary figure and prepares to select a new leader. The doors of Pope Francis's apartment sealed, a symbolic end to the papacy of 12 years. Tonight, the world says goodbye to the man known as the People's Pope, a moniker that he seemed willing to embrace.
El Papa de la gente.
The Pope of the people? I've always been a pastor.
Fui pastor, sí.
You are a pastor for the people, not for yourself.
He was a humble man who rose from modest means and kept the focus on those with the least.
Tenderness, mercy, compassion, love. This is what moved us about him.
Cardinal Timothy Dolan says for the pontiff, it was compassion above all else.
Pope Francis almost had like a radar for people who were left behind at the side of the road. I could see his eyes when he'd see the baby. I could see his eyes when he would see somebody who was maybe bent over and crippled at the side, right over there.
Jorge Mario Bergoglio was born in Argentina in 1936 into a family of Italian immigrants. Decades later, he became Archbishop of Buenos Aires with a focus on the poor. And in 2001, Pope St. John Paul II elevated him to cardinal. As Pope, he stuck to church doctrine, but was not without his critics, including some conservative bishops in the U.S.
You used an adjective, conservative. That is, conservative is one who clings to something and does not want to see beyond that. It is a suicidal attitude. Because one thing is to take tradition into account, to consider situations from the past, but quite another is to be closed up inside a dogmatic box.
Pope Francis and President Trump have not always seen eye to eye, especially on the issue of immigration. But today, Trump said he will attend the pontiff's funeral and claims he shares his message of tolerance for immigrants. In his final message, Francis called for ends to wars in Gaza, Ukraine, and Sudan, and has spoken of how he keeps hope for the future, as he made clear in an interview with CBS's Nora O'Donnell.
You see tragedies, but you also see so many beautiful things. That gives me a lot of hope. People want to live, people forge ahead, and people are fundamentally good. We are all fundamentally good. Sometimes we are a little mischievous, sinners, but the heart is good.
Today, thousands prayed at the Vatican, where for the first time in 12 years, the chair of St. Peter is vacant.
And now there are many questions about what happens next. Tina Kraus joins us live from Rome with that part of the story. Tina, thank you for joining us once again tonight. What can we expect over the next few days? Specifically, what are you learning about the Pope's funeral plans?
Jessica and Dick, well, now it's the middle of the night here in Rome. The faithful are getting some rest after an incredibly emotional day, a day of disbelief for many who just aren't ready to say goodbye to Pope Francis. But preparations are already underway for his funeral. Just last year, Pope Francis changed the funeral rites, the first time that's been done in 24 years. And he chose to make this funeral for himself much more simplistic. That's his style, after all. He wants to do away with much of the pageantry, much of the pomp. One of the big things he changed is that he didn't want his body to be put on a pedestal, raised above for everyone to come by and look at in the public viewing. Instead, we'll see him in a simple wooden coffin. We're expecting hundreds and thousands of people to pass by in St. Peter's Basilica behind me on Wednesday.
Tina, the next big question, I guess, is what's the process for selecting the next pope?
Well, the conclave, as everyone hears about, and that is really something to watch. We know that will begin within 15 to 20 days after the death, so sometime in May. Hundreds of cardinals will be flying in from around the world. We know about 130, some of them will be actually eligible to vote in the conclave. Only cardinals under 80 years old can cast those paper ballots, the ballots that are counted, and then if there's 2/3 majority, that's when we eventually see the white smoke up from the Sistine Chapel. Until then, we'll see black smoke, but that white smoke signals a successor.
Tina, you mentioned that simple wooden coffin. He also, according to his will, only wants his name, Francis, on that coffin. No mention of the fact that he was the Pope for 12 years. Just another nod to his simplicity and humility. Tina, thank you so much for that tonight. And as Tina mentioned, candidates to replace Pope Francis will emerge during the conclave. Some of the cardinals believed to be at the top of that list include Cardinal Peter Ordo, the Archbishop of Budapest. He is the highest-ranking Catholic leader in Hungary. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle of the Philippines is known as the Asian Francis because of his emphasis on caring for the poor and welcoming LGBTQ and divorced Catholics. And the Vatican's Secretary of State, Cardinal Pietro Parolin. He is the second in command right now at the Vatican.